Check, check. Check, check. 1, 2. Hey, welcome in. It is Clippers Talk. As I'm always, discombobulated as I start here at the studio. I need to probably wait to start the show to actually get set up. That'd be a wise idea. I'm Adam Osland, coming off last night's 18-point loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. We don't have to talk a lot about that. We won't talk a lot about that last night. There are a couple of things I wanted to touch upon, though, that I didn't get a chance to talk about last night. Probably because I was venting too much or too frustrated myself after that loss. And I don't know. I didn't like, in listening back to that show last night, I didn't like my demeanor some of the time. While it was entertaining, going back and forth with Harold, who is prone to, argue.
See Shea Gillis.
What?
And every time I see Shea Gillis,
I think it was an entertaining show, but I don't know. I got to do better. I got caught up with it on somebody on Twitter and Alfie, and yeah, overall, I apologize. I'll try to do better for you guys. Stay on track a little bit more. I think we did break down the game a lot, but when you lose big like that as the Clippers did, there wasn't a ton to delve into. I think there is today. I think because we have this Atlanta Hawks game coming up tomorrow. They're taking on the Lakers tonight, so the Clippers do get them on the second night of a back-to-back. They get the Lakers sloppy seconds for once. Typically, a team gets worn down by the Clippers before they end up playing the Lakers. This time, it is the other way around. So, we'll talk about that. But I want to start things off because somebody said something on X a little bit earlier today, and there was some slander going Norman Powell's way. And if you haven't, I should say, already voted for Norman Powell, please do. He is deserving of being an all-star this season. He is 10th so far in guard voting, which isn't bad. You guys have been rocking the vote some, but just go to nba.com/Clippers/vote. Vote for your Los Angeles Clippers to get in. But there's this narrative being built up right now that Norm is only good against bad teams. And that's just a false narrative. It's not true. It's not fair. Like, someone's saying, well, Norm this season against teams who rank at the top 10 in defensive rating. In 10 games, he's averaging 20 points on 44% shooting, 37% from three. Like, first of all, those aren't terrible numbers. He's had good games against Golden State, against Denver. Let's not just act like Norman Powell has been awful whenever he faces a really good ball club out there. That's taking things way too far. All right, who do we got in here? Himothy said, I always thought this team, or this is still from last night, it was. Absent said, when is T-Man coming back? It's been more than 4 weeks since his injury. When he's healthy, when he feels right. So the team put a 3-week timeline on it. According to La Murray of The Athletic, Terrence Mann felt like it would be longer, more like 4 weeks with that broken left middle finger. Hockney said, according to Spotrac, KPJ can't be traded until December 15th of 2025. It's kind of random, not even talking about that right now, but we can get into that at some point here. Again, Atlanta Hawks preview coming up. I want you to hear that La Murray audio again last night because not everybody heard it, which was the latest regarding Kawhi, as I had him on the pregame show. But I got to stick up for Norman Powell. He's been too good so far this season. If you go through every player's numbers against good defenses, versus bad defenses, yeah, they're likely to have bigger games against the teams that have worse defenses out there. It's not just Norman Powell, and he's just been far too good to get this much slander coming his way so far this season. So I'll start with that. Now I want to ask you guys a question because I didn't get too deep into the Ivica Zubac news coming out last night, which I saw this from Tomer Azarli. I've yet to be able to find Coach Lou post-game audio anywhere, but Tomer Azarli had this. First of all, Coach Lou said this about Norm going 1 for 11 last night against OKC. Quote, they were blitzing him a little bit to make the pass so we can get open shots. So we took advantage of that early on in the game. They did. Norm was making the right play. He was due for one of these games the way he's been shooting the ball all year, the way he's been scoring the basketball. Tonight was a tough night for him shooting the basketball. That's all you got to say. It doesn't need to be Norm sucks when he plays against a real team. Like when he played against the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs and they didn't have Kawhi or Paul George and he dropped 40. Was that a real team? Were the stakes high enough for you? I've seen too many good Norman Powell games this season to overly criticize him for only going off against bad teams. Like, what did he have? 22 points in the fourth quarter against the Denver Nuggets. They were trying everything against him. Like last night, he's had 31 against the Oklahoma City Thunder already this season. So why are we acting like he hasn't already cooked them? Now, when you jump in and say, well, that was because James Harden was out there. Sure. It always helps when you have better players out there, when you have your floor general. Of course, that's part of it. But making so much out of last night's performance where he was 1 for 11, 0 of 5 from 3, and misses shots he typically makes. Yes, he had 6 turnovers too. I'm not going to make any long-reaching conclusions about that like Norman Powell cannot do it against good defenses. That's just doomer stuff and taking things and blowing them out of proportion. Alex Webb said, happy Friday, Adams family. If you go through Norman Powell's log so far this season, his game log, I know he has struggled against the Houston Rockets. Many do. But he's had 37 against Denver. As I mentioned, I think he had 22 in that fourth quarter when Mike Malone said he kicked our ass. I mean, they tried a lot of different things to slow him down. He had 24 the first game against OKC. Okay? Yes, they had James Harden. They still lost that game. Of course, like a lot of guys will struggle if they don't have, those other top options out there next to them, like him missing James Harden last night. But I thought Philadelphia played good defense against him in that win it into a dome, and they couldn't stop him. He had 26 there on 8 of 10 shooting. He had a big game against Sacramento. Say what you want about their defense right now. And he had 31 against OKC the first time in OKC on 10 of 15 shooting and 5 of 8 from the outside. They weren't just playing to stop James Harden that game. I promise you. They have far too many good defenders that they can spread around, share the wealth, have some of them on James, some of them on Norman Powell. They couldn't stop him in that game. Yes, he has struggled mightily against the Houston Rockets. Okay. Other guys have. He was good against Golden State, good against Denver again with 28 points. I'm not going to read too much into the situation and say Norman Powell can't do it against the better teams. For instance, the Dallas Mavericks, what is their defensive rating at currently? I want to check on this. I know those 2 games in Dallas, both without Luka, only one with Kyrie Irving. But if anything, that should mean they had even better defenders out there. They're 10th defensively. Norm cooked in both of those games against Dallas. 29 points on 10 of 19 shooting, 4 of 8 from 3. 28 points. Okay, 8 of 22 shooting. He wasn't very efficient the second game, but he still had 28 on 22 shots. Got to the free throw line. They had to foul him a lot. He hit 9 of 10. Dallas is a top 10 defense in the league. The Memphis Grizzlies game. What are we doing here, guys? They've been great so far this season. He had 29 against them. So there you go. I think we can put that narrative to rest. That's just Clippers Twitter and people looking for engagement, or I don't know if they're rage baiting and they think they really have cracked the code and Norman Powell's not that guy. He's not a number one option. He's not, I don't think, a number two option on a championship team. But yes, he is absolutely a killer number three option and has proven that so far this season. Alex Webb said, yes, Norm is a solid third option. He will be fine with Harden and Kawhi in the lineup. He's been fine without Kawhi. He's been fine as the number two option. He's been really good. He is all-star worthy while being the number two option and number one option, scoring option at times. Like, what are we doing here? Let's not lose our minds and just try to take shots at a guy that has been so good so far this season. So I want you guys to get out there again. NBA.com/Clippers/vote. Vote for Norman Powell. He deserves it. And I was happy to see he's at least in the conversation. 10th most votes for guards in the Western Conference. Chris G said, let's see, what do we got here? OKC is just a tough ask without James. Hawks on a back-to-back. Let's get it. Yeah, more on the Atlanta Hawks coming up. But the other part of that Tomer Azarli tweet coming from post-game audio, I guess, from Coach Lou, I couldn't find anything out there. Has anybody seen it yet? Does anybody know? There was obviously a Coach Lou post-game presser. There always is. I'm just trying to find any audio or even a transcript of it. Tomer Azarli was able to find some stuff. I'm still searching. I'm still working my way through it here as I look on YouTube to see if typically the accounts that I go to for post-game audio, Hoop Jab and Hoop Chef. Very good for the Clippers in that area. I always try to give them a shout out when we play it here on the show. And I'm not seeing any updates. It's still going back to the Pelicans and Spurs game, but nothing from last night from Hoop Jab. I'll try Hoop Chef because I love to hear from the head coach after, especially a loss like that. I need the insight from Coach Lou. But we at least got this from Tomer Azarli. Talking about Ivica Zubac post-game last night after the Clippers ended up losing 116-98 in OKC. They led by 4 at the half. They led by as many as 16 in the first half. They got blitzed, ambushed, crushed by 22 points in that third quarter as they were turning the ball over. And nobody's better at making you turn the ball over than the Oklahoma City Thunder. They got into their defense. They dug their heels in. Yeah, they are extremely tough, especially without James Harden in a game like that, for other guys to have to figure it out and create and initiate the offense. And they had 8 turnovers in the third quarter, leading to 17 points. So Coach Lou said this about Ivica Zubac, who I thought was okay. Like, he did not have a terrible game like the guy Alfie was trying to say last night. He had 11 and 9 in 23 minutes on 5 of 9 shooting. That's not a terrible game in just 23 minutes. He was not the reason they were getting smoked. But apparently, he gutted it out. Coach Lou said post-game, quote, really gutted it out to play against the Thunder. He was in some pain. They gave him the go-ahead at the last minute. He kind of fought through. I never thought he was himself throughout the course of the game. So, is it the calf injury, which was not a strain, but a contusion still lingering? What exactly is the injury here? Does anybody have any clarity on that? I threw a text. Okay, I just got the text back. I have clarity on that. Ask and you shall receive. So I texted Tomer Azarli. Shout out Tomer from Clutch Points. It apparently is the same calf soreness going on. So that's what the injury was. There you go. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't anything else because we didn't get further clarification from Coach Lou postgame, as I don't have the Coach Lou postgame presser here to play for you guys. So there you go. Not overly concerned. It is a pain threshold tolerance thing going on, as he got kicked in the calf a week or so ago, played through it against Memphis, got them their biggest victory of the season. That was right before Christmas. So he's been dealing with it, but it doesn't sound like something that isn't manageable. It's less than a strain. It is soreness. It is a contusion, a bruise. Must have been pretty bad for it to still be lingering like this. But that makes me much more hopeful, because he's had calf injuries in the past where it was a strain, and then you start to think about, oh no, Achilles, it's all connected. And what happened to Kevin Durant in the NBA Finals in 2019? It's not that. That is good news. Just the same ongoing injury right now with the Ivica Zubac, and what a badass for playing through it, because he knew they needed him, and he was one of the reasons they got up big early on. Isaiah Hartenstein got taken out of the game early because Zoo was abusing him. Would have been great if they went to him more. I don't think they exploited that matchup enough, but yeah, that's a bit of an update for you. Adam versus Harold from last night. That's the biggest rivalry on the internet.
One of the worst trades they ever made. Every time I see Shea Gilgeous-Alexander play, wouldn't he look great
Harold,
in a Clipper uniform?
That wasn't even from last night. If you guys missed it, entertaining showdown, I think, between myself and Harold in North Hollywood, who is a longtime AM 570 listener. I appreciate Harold. He was going after Kawhi Leonard. Check out last night's show. I don't think you'll be disappointed. There was a good back and forth, spirited debate and exchange between myself and Harold. Honestly, I was frustrated last night, and I apologize. Harold, Jesus, I was short, I was terse and brief with people, because I was just being inundated with so many questions on here, and then on X, and then on the phone lines. It was just like, one of those nights. It doesn't happen very often. Typically, I can compartmentalize it all and not sound, at least, that frustrated as I think I did last night when I listened back to it this morning. So, Clipper Nation, I'll do better for you. Hello Dolo said, Norma's a straight bucket getter, not just a self-creator, and that's fine. Trying to discredit him for one bad game is just bad faith. Yeah, he's not a self-creator. He's more of a finisher. He's attack the closeout guy. He's a catch and shoot guy. But he has been better with, being able to get some of those DIY do-it-yourself buckets this season. He's had to be, because they still don't have Kawhi. More on that coming up. Our friend in Japan, Kiri, I believe. Hello, Adam. 5 a.m. morning in Japan. This is Norm Talk. Well, a little bit of Norm Talk to start. Then Ivica Zubac's injury talk. Just wanted to put a button on some of the stuff from last night and some of the things that are coming out this morning from Clippers fans who are trying to create a storyline about Norman Powell and how he can't do it against better defenses, but obviously he has against that very Oklahoma City Thunder defense. 2 games prior, he was very good. He wasn't last night. You can say, well, the biggest difference was James Harden wasn't out there. I'm not saying that's not a factor. I'm saying there's 3 things going on. I think James Harden, puts a lot more on Norman Powell, and more attention from the defense is going his way. When you have that few creators already, and then you lose James Harden, yeah, any guy that has to do it or feel like he is doing it all himself out there, that puts a lot of pressure on you. That could stop a lot of good players in this league. But I think part of it is also just Norman Powell on an off shooting night, and it's 1 game. So we're not going to draw concrete conclusions out of that and say Norman Powell can't do it against the good defenses, when we have seen plenty of instances and already went through the game log from all the teams and all the games he's had this season against good ball clubs and good defenses, including OKC. Jordan Pollard said, I don't think it's discrediting Norm. It's just putting his production in perspective. A lot of fans, media, some local and some national, are greatly underselling Harden's impact this season. Well, some people on X, you're right. I'm sure there's some people that are just trying to do analysis there, but then there's people like this. Uh, and I saw a lot of these tweets last night. People just trying to get off on hate on Norman Powell, saying Norman Powell without James Harden, and they're showing Russell Westbrook's numbers last year in the playoffs, which were actually worse than this by the time the series was over. The last 5 games, he went 8 for 42, but they're saying basically this is how bad Norm is. Ha ha, when he doesn't have James Harden to save him. There's Norm Powell without James Harden. I don't know what that is referencing. So they're saying the 2 games without James Harden, he only had 17 points in that game against Houston without James. Like, it's such a small sample size. It is just not very meaningful to me at all. And others are saying, well, they should trade him. Yeah, that's the stuff I'm talking about. Not everybody is doing that, but for those that are, relax, chill out. He just cooked one of the better defenses in the league in the Dallas Mavericks in 2 games. He was very good against them. And very good against Memphis. I don't know if you already forgot about that. Alfredo Rodriguez said, with early all-star numbers coming in, how vital is it for the Clippers to get a player elected or selected specifically for playoff chances? No team has ever won a title without an elected all-star on the roster. I don't think it's that important, honestly. I think it's important in that big picture perspective. Oh, they can't win if they don't have an all-star. It's like they don't have their best player in Kawhi Leonard. And, it's a popularity contest. I think James Harden definitely should be an all-star. I think Norman Powell definitely should, but he doesn't have the name recognition, and it's unfortunate. And we'll see. James obviously has the better opportunity. Alfredo made a clarification there. Elected all-star means a player making the all-star game on the year of their title run. Yeah. If the Clippers don't win the title this season, it's not going to be because they didn't technically have a guy make the all-star team. It's because they weren't good enough, and maybe, Kawhi's health didn't hold up. Who knows? Like, it's very difficult to win. Coming into this season, people had them ranked 12th in the West. They're 19 and 15 without Kawhi Leonard. They've been holding it down. Everybody was assuming they'd be a bottom team in the Western Conference, or a lot of the national media, they were assuming that, because lack of availability with Kawhi, and they don't have enough top-end talent, or Harden's washed, and they didn't see this coming from Norman Powell. They didn't see the big leap coming from Big Zoo. They didn't see the defensive guys they brought in, L. Frank, with a big W this offseason, with Chris Dunn, with Derrick Jones Jr. and Nico Batum. Alex Webb said, is this the first time we get a team on the second night of a back-to-back and the Lakers get a team first? Seems like it's always the other way around. It's nice for once. Yeah, I brought that up. It does feel like that. I think typically it has been like that. And maybe this is the difference of the Intuit Dome, guys. Maybe there's something to do with that, because before, at Crypto, at Staples Center, it felt like the Clippers always got the team fresh first, beat them up, and then the Lakers got to take them out the next night. Kaylee said, Norman being 10th in all-star voting for West guards should be the more important news than one bad game. Yes. Jordan seeing what I was posting off of Twitter there on the screen and showing how people were characterizing that performance from Norm last night and just absolutely making too much out of it. Holo Dolo said KPJ was good in the first half and pretty horrible in the second half. Just the story of the season with him. Him being that inconsistent is going to burn us in the playoffs if we make it. Maybe he won't be in the rotation by then. I don't know. But yeah, he's too up and down with his play. I don't feel that confident with him in a playoff series currently. I hope he improves. Master of the Keys said Clippers record versus winning teams needs to improve. Lawrence Frank toying with Clipper Nation. Toying with them? How? Holo Dolo said, I also saw your tweet about defensive regression. I think not having T-Man has been a strong factor in that. He does a lot of little things on D, boxing out, being in the right spot, etc. He matters. So it wasn't defensive regression I was necessarily talking about, although that ties in. It's kind of a subplot to it, but it's the rebounding regression. And here's what I'll show you guys. So the Clippers have gone from being one of the best rebounding teams in the league through the first 15 to 20 games of this season to now the last 15 games, and they have played 34 now. So over the last 15 games, first of all, I'll tell you where they are at on the season in defensive rebounding percentage. Make it just rebounding percentage in general. So that includes defensive boards, offensive boards. Rebounding percentage on the season, the Clippers are 9th. And they out-rebounded OKC last night. It doesn't matter because they're going to win the turnover battle against you and win the possession battle that way. Rebounding percentage on the season, the Clippers are 9th. But that has been slipping and dropping because over the last 15 games, this is kind of alarming. The Clippers are 25th in rebounding percentage. You look at defensive rebounding percentage on the season, they're 5th. But what are they the last 15 games? Yikes, they are 22nd. So offensive rebounding percentage, what are they on the season? They were never great there. They're 16th. But over the last 15 games, it's going to be worse than that. They are 23rd. So in every metric on the boards, the Clippers have seen a lot of regression. That is scary to me. And yes, while they are the 5th best defense overall on the season, if you look at the last 15 games, they are, they're 9th still. You'll take that. This is something I worried about coming into the year when they got off to that hot start on the boards. I just didn't feel like it was sustainable based upon personnel and how much smaller they are. The good news is Kawhi is a very good rebounder. He can help them in that area greatly. So, will Kawhi be playing tomorrow? Let's hear from Law Murray of The Athletic. This was pregame before tip-off in OKC yesterday. Saturday night back at Into a Dome, the Clippers will be taking on the Atlanta Hawks. So, Law Murray, it begs the question, is Kawhi Leonard still on track to be available to go in his first game this season on Saturday?
Well, when I reported last week, there was a target date. That's all I could really say. And that's not something that the organization is pushing or anything like that. That's Kawhi's target date. And we know that just because Kawhi feels like he's ready or has a date circled, that doesn't always work out. We've seen that across the league with a lot of guys. You know, they've had their ramp-up period. They might feel like they're ready, and then it doesn't work out. So but I will say he hasn't been ruled out. That is a positive as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, when you look at what's happening, he got to practice with the G League team, and that was a pretty big deal. He went through multiple practices. Sound like it came out pretty well with that. And so we'll have to see if the team is willing to put him out there for Saturday night. So I'm just going to say that's a lot there. All I'm saying really is nothing has changed based off of what I reported last week.
I'm going to say I'm less confident he's playing tomorrow than I was when the report initially came out last week. Because we're less than 48 hours away. I mean, we're 30 hours away from tip-off tomorrow night at Into a Dome. Clippers taking on Atlanta. Preview on that coming up. But that didn't instill confidence in me. That wasn't overall encouraging to me. It sounds like, from what I'm gathering here from Law is, and he put out the report last week that the target date for Kawhi Leonard's return was January 4th, tomorrow on Saturday against Atlanta. the target date. There was never anything definitive. You got Renzo coming in here. I'm a little late. So is Kawhi for sure tomorrow? Kawhi and for sure shouldn't be used in the same sentence probably ever. Like I don't know about that one. And I'm not seeing an update yet on the injury report for tomorrow. Mark Jagan here is saying the claw is back. Based upon what? We just heard from La Murray there. Did that sound like he's for sure back tomorrow?
Well, when I reported last week, there was a target date. That's all I could really say. And that's not something that the organization is pushing or anything like that. That's Kawhi's target date. And we know that just because Kawhi feels like he's ready or has a date circled, that doesn't always work out. We've seen that across the league with a lot of guys. You know, they've had their ramp up period. They might feel like they're ready, and then it doesn't work out.
Does that sound like anything is for sure about tomorrow? Seems like Kawhi and his camp are thinking that could be the date, but the Clippers still got to sign off and say he's checked all the boxes and is ready to go. Holo Dolo said, only thing I know for sure is he's going to have a heavy minutes restriction, so the lineups are going to be interesting. This is true. Even if he does play tomorrow, he'll probably be on a 20-minute restriction, somewhere around there, I would guess, in his first game back. That's what it was the first couple of games when he came back from the ACL. This is different, not the same thing, but if we're looking at past precedent with him, he was at 21 minutes the first two games back and was coming off the bench. I don't anticipate that happening again like it did late in 2022 when he returned from the ACL injury. But your guess is as good as mine. This is kind of nebulous. It's really unclear whether or not Kawhi is going to be back. We'll find out on the injury report. If he's questionable or doubtful or probable instead of out, then I'd feel decent about it. Because it's been out since the start of the season when you read that injury report with Kawhi Leonard. Honestly, if he's anything but out for tomorrow, I'd feel decent about it. And that could come out around 5 today, the injury report. So I think we're going to have a live on Clips and Dip when it does. Renzo is saying, he's reading way too much into this. Maybe they trying to say he's playing last minute to throw the Hawks off. I'm delusional. Fair enough. Alfredo Rodriguez said, could Leonard be on a minutes restriction from now until after the All-Star break? That's when teams start ramping up for the playoffs. Maybe. Guys, it all depends on how his knee responds. Nobody can know because nobody knows how his knee is going to respond after these games. If he feels great, say he plays tomorrow, feels great, wakes up on Sunday, no swelling, nothing. Well, they do it all over again and see how he feels after the next game. And they will take in this data and information and then make decisions based upon how his knee is reacting to playing NBA 5-on-5 high-intensity basketball again. Hello Dolo says, the thing with Kawhi is I'm going to be getting a heart attack anytime he's going to fall on the court now and praying after every game his knee won't act up. I mean, I was already doing that, but the heart attack part. Yeah. Just because he looks good in a game and drops 25 or 30, it doesn't mean that you should feel great about. Look, there's never going to be a time where you're going to feel secure with Kawhi given his injury history. Is he playing tomorrow or what? Do I have to play this again? This is Law Murray on yesterday.
Well, when What I reported last week, there was a target date. That's all I could really say. And that's not something that the organization is pushing or anything like that. That's Kawhi's target date. And we know that just because Kawhi feels like he's ready or has a date circled, that doesn't always work out. We've seen that across the league with a lot of guys.
Yeah. If Kawhi feels he's ready, that's one thing. If the team feels he's ready and signs off on it, then he's playing. We'll know later today on the injury report, most likely. If it says anything other than he's out tomorrow, then there's a chance he could play. Even if it says doubtful or questionable, I'd be like, okay, things are changing. But the Clippers' upcoming schedule, and we're going to get to the Atlanta Hawks game here in a second. So after tomorrow, they have Sunday off, and then they play in Minnesota on Monday, then in Denver on Wednesday, then 2 days off. They're back home taking on the Charlotte Hornets on January 11th. Could that be the new date if he doesn't play tomorrow? Maybe. But I would say if they feel good about him later next week, even if it's a road game to start for him, they need him. I don't think it should only be, well, he has to play his first game at home. I don't see why that matters. I mean, it's great. Be great to play it into a dome his first game, but just be great to play, period. Munit said Kawhi knee can act up anytime, which is scary. Yeah. He talked about that at Media Day. It's something probably going to have to manage for the rest of his career. But they feel or they felt like they had a better handle on the situation and how to go about managing it. So time will tell. Half the battle is getting him on the court. It's only half. Knowing is half the battle. The other half is having him stay on the court. So that means after playing, the knee reacts accordingly and doesn't flare up or swell up. So they're not out of the woods even if he plays tomorrow. It's not, hey, everything's fine, Kawhi's going to be back, and there's no risk of his knee swelling back up. I'm going to be very blunt about that, very honest about that. We have to be. Yes, it could be 111 against Charlotte. Renzo said, knowing our luck, it will act up right when the playoffs start again. Well, I guess the good news is, they've been through so much with Kawhi. They're exhausting every avenue and trying, they're doing everything they can, guys. They're trying everything. And they are aware, very aware, that the importance has to be, or the priority has to be, him playing in the playoffs and being able to stay on the court in the playoffs. Still going to make the playoffs. Nothing is guaranteed in the Western Conference just because they're 19-15 now. They have 17 games coming up in March. They will need Kawhi in the regular season still. Drive-by Buddy says Kawhi will come when Kawhi comes. Sure. He'll be ready when he's ready. Hope it's tomorrow, but nothing is close to definitive. This is Law Merge reporting from The Athletic. There's a huge difference between that and the team saying that this is the target date. I want to be clear about that. And Law has made it very apparent that, this sounds like it's coming from Kawhi's side, but that's different. The team still has to give the okay. D said, I'd rather he start the 11th, couple games at home. All right, I want to start our preview for the Atlanta Hawks game tomorrow. Remember, Atlanta is on the second night of a back-to-back. They're in LA. They're taking on the Lakers tonight. So hopefully they win. Obviously, they're playing the Lakers, and that would help the Clippers in the standings. And also, it might mean that they might not be gunning as hard to win tomorrow if they win tonight. They aren't looking to bounce back as much. Bonit said we can go like 25-5 with Kawhi the way this team is built, man. I don't know about that. Renzo said by when would be the latest we would know about the injury report for tomorrow? Sometime around 5 or 6 tonight would be the latest. Level up 15-15 to my knowledge. Said with or without Kawhi, tomorrow is a must win. By the way, Bamba's been playing much better, which in my opinion is a plus. He had one good game recently, last night. That's not a string of games where he's been playing better. That's one game. One game he's played better. I don't know what you've been watching. That is strong recency bias. I am hoping last night's effort in OKC turns in to a streak of much better play from Mo Bamba. Goku said, hopefully he can play. I want to see the offense when he's there. I know it's going to be more mid-range shots. Drive by Buddy said, the good thing is that we are not as bad as we all thought. So for the time being, let's motivate our team right now and keep going for that W. Chin up, clip gang. Shar says, who do you want guarding Trae Young? Chris Dunn seems most likely. Yeah, it'll be Chris Dunn. Let's talk about this Atlanta Hawks team a little bit more in depth. So Atlanta is 15th in offensive rating. The Clippers are 23rd. Clippers are 5th defensively. Atlanta's 17th. Here is one of the trademarks of the Atlanta Hawks. They are second in the league in pace. They play at the second fastest tempo in the league. They play fast. The Clippers, they don't. They're 21st there. There are some serious contrasting styles going on. So Atlanta's 4th, consequently, in fast break points per game at about 18. They're really good there. Atlanta is a better rebounding team. They are 7th in the league. The Clippers are 10th, but remember, they're 25th their last 15 games in rebounding percentage. Atlanta over that stretch is 5th, so they've actually been improving in rebounding while the Clippers have been going the other way. The Hawks are 7th in second chance points at 15 per game. The Clippers 17th at 13.5. Atlanta is 3rd best in points in the paint. Goes to the rebounding. They're at 55.4 points in the paint per game. 3rd best mark in the league. Clippers are 12th there. Not bad, 49.4. But the Clippers are good at eliminating paint points. That is one of the hallmarks of their defense. They're only giving up 46.6 points in the paint per game. So something has to give there between the Clippers defense and Atlanta being good scoring in the paint. The Hawks are just 18th in three-point percentage at 35.5% from the outside. The Clippers are at 36.6%. That's 14th in outside shooting. The Hawks are 3rd, though, in free throws attempted per game at 24.5. They get to the charity stripe. That can make up for not shooting it as well from the outside. Clippers are 18th and getting to the free throw line at 21.2 times per ball game. Atlanta, though, like the Clippers, does have a bit of a turnover problem. But here is the difference. Part of the reason they're at 16.4 turnovers per game, the Atlanta Hawks, is because they play at a faster pace and have more possessions out there to turn the ball over. So you look at turnover ratio, it's lower than that. The Clippers, though, they're at 16.6 turnovers per game, and you look at turnover ratio, and it's actually higher because they play at a slower pace, and they still turn the ball over that much. Atlanta is 4th best in opponents' turnovers per game. So the Clippers just dealt with the best team last night when it comes to turning you over. The OKC Thunder were generating 19 turnovers from the opposition every game. Atlanta is 4th best. They're generating 16.7, about 17 turnovers per game. Some of that is also influenced by pace, but they can turn you over. The Clippers are 8th when it comes to turning over opponents. They're top 10. They're good there. They're getting 15.3 turnovers. Here's where Atlanta struggles. Opponents are shooting the highest three-point percentage in the league against them at 38.3%. 38.3% is what teams are shooting from three against Atlanta. The Clippers on the season, again, They're shooting 36.6% from three. Teams going up against Atlanta shoot 38% from three. Meanwhile, Clippers opponents, they're only shooting 34% against them. They're good in that area. So the Clippers could have a hot shooting night against the Hawks. I don't know if that's all fluky shooting and, we're almost 40%. We are 40% of the way into the season, so I highly doubt that. I think Atlanta's perimeter defense just isn't great. And when you have a point of attack defender like Trae Young, that will happen. Now, here's what's interesting. So Trae Young is day-to-day with a hand injury. He's questionable for tonight's game against the Lakers. Jalen Johnson, who's having a breakout season for them, he is day-to-day. He's questionable with a shoulder injury for tonight's ball game. Bojan Bogdanovic, Bogey, he is out. Bogdanovic, sorry. He is out. No. Yeah, he's been updated to out for tonight's ball game against the Lakers. Those are big losses. Now, Trae could still play. Jalen Johnson could still play. Or, knowing they have a game against the Clippers tomorrow, both those guys rest tonight against the Lakers and play against the Clippers. That'd be kind of rough. But the Atlanta Hawks have guys who are kind of coming into their own this season. I mentioned Jalen Johnson out of Duke. In his fourth year now, he's getting 20 points per game, 10 boards. He's shooting 51% from the field. Not a great three-point shooter at just 33%. But he's playing really well. And it's not just him. And they have more size and athleticism surrounding Trae Young to make up for his small stature. And it has worked overall. They're 18-16. So they have DeAndre Hunter, who's also having a big season for them. This is another guy out of Virginia that's having kind of that breakout year. He's at 21 points per game. He's shooting not just 50% from the field, 46% from three on 6 attempts per game. He's been really good for them. And then they have one of the best defenders in the league in Dyson Daniels. He was with the Pelicans. He came over in that trade for DeJounte Murray. He is a force on the defensive end. They have a lot of these 6'7" guys, a lot of wings that they can throw at you and make life very, very difficult. So this Atlanta team, look, their record, they're 2 games over 500. It's not outstanding. They've won 2 in a row. They were against bad teams after losing 4 in a row, 2 of which were to bad teams. They lost to Washington in back-to-back games. They just beat Brooklyn. Excuse me. That was at the beginning of the season, Adam. You casual. 10-second timeout. Okay. My bad on that. I was looking at the wrong side. So they lost to Denver at Denver a couple of days ago, 139-120. Before that, they had won 4 games in a row against Toronto, against Miami, against Chicago, and against Minnesota, which is a solid win. Minnesota's struggling themselves to figure it out with Karl-Anthony Towns being gone. Before that, they lost 3 in a row to 3 good teams in Memphis, San Antonio, and Milwaukee. So they've been about 500 the last 10 games. They're good, though. They're a solid team. And again, that change of pace by them with the ability to play at a much faster tempo than the Clippers, if they speed up the Clippers, that could be problematic. Now, we're just hoping James Harden's going to be back for this game. We're hoping Kawhi Leonard's going to be back. We're hoping Ivica Zubac and that calf injury isn't, getting worse. The whole point of him playing against Memphis in that game was supposedly it couldn't get worse. It's just a pain tolerance thing. So there's 3 key guys, to say the least, that the Clippers are going to need in this ball game. Even if they don't have Kawhi, they have a shot against Atlanta. They're back home. Atlanta's on a back-to-back. They're taking on the Lakers tonight. But again, who's playing for them? What if they rest Trae Young? What if they rest Jalen Johnson? The other side of it is, what if they both play tonight and then rest tomorrow against the Clippers? So It's going to be interesting to see. I'm going to be watching that game against the Lakers later tonight to see who's playing for Atlanta to get ready for tomorrow night's game. All right. Goku said, "Are we worried about Norm shooting, or was it just one bad game?" I addressed that at the beginning. Rewind. C said, "Let's just trust the process." I think talking about Kawhi. Vintage said, "Clippers should trade Harden to a contender. Harden doesn't have time to be banking on a injury-riddled star to be healthy." Sounds like a Harden stan that doesn't care about the Clippers. Holodello said, "I feel strong about teams with strong pace. We did well against the Grizzlies, who are also top 5 in pace. If I'm not wrong." You're not wrong. I think they were number 1 when the Clippers played them. That is a strong point. The Clippers, I wanted to say this. I don't think I mentioned it after the game. Yeah, Memphis is number 1 in pace. Atlanta's number 2 on the season. Wait, that was last 15 games. Yeah, same thing on the season. The Clippers were better in a scramble against Memphis than the Grizzlies were against them. The Clippers defense, the way they flew around, it really disrupted Memphis. Even though Memphis is used to playing faster. So Holo Dolo has made some strong points throughout this episode. He's on fire. Holo Dolo said, "Because James has the ability to control the pace of the game, and when Atlanta has to play slow, they're not good." Yeah, that's strong. Bryant said, "Since Vintage is talking trades, would Clipper Nation be open to Lonzo Ball being a Clipper if the front office could somehow pull it off?" Oh God, how many times? How many times do I have to get this same talk about Lonzo every often? Often is how many times I get this. Do you guys is anybody even watching? How many games do you think Lonzo Ball has played this year? Guys, he's played in just 15 games. He can't stay healthy. He's shooting 33% from the field in those 15 games. He's only playing 18 minutes per in those 15 games. He can't stay healthy. He's not the same player. Lonzo Ball, an injury-prone player, to say the least. He didn't play the last 2 seasons for a team that has been dealing with injuries and guys not being able to stay on the court. This is your answer? Okay. Mark Jaggs said Dyson Daniels leads the league in steals by quite a bit. What is he at? His defense, it is crazy. Jonathan Ing said the Clippers can't be loose with the ball and telegraph their passes. Got to make smart passes. This is accurate. Bryant said, "Anyway, hope Kawhi plays tomorrow. Not ruled out. It's still giving me hope." Mark said they're going to rest against the Lakers. Go figure. Hockney, appreciate you for the super chat. They are turned on. A coffee cup with the words "tired." Hockney said, Spelltrack says KPJ. Okay, you keep putting that in there. I'm not asking that. I don't know if that's accurate or not, if that's what you're wanting me to respond to. I know he's on a 2-year deal. I would be surprised if there was some restriction on it. Thank you, Hockney. Appreciate you, my guy. Kiri said, "I thought Hunter should be the 3-and-D player, but he became an offensive player. A little unbelievable." Yeah. Arcane said, "Clippers are a contender if Kawhi comes back healthy." Definitely a contender in the West. Hockney said, "KPJ can't be included in any packages." I'm not talking about trading KPJ right now. Said, "I agree with you on most things, but watch Lonzo. He's getting better every game. I personally think we should get Brogdon, another injury-prone guy." Sexton is nice, but doesn't seem like a winner. I mean, he's been in bad situations. How can you know that? The guy played a 3-on-5 game in college and almost won it. How many games? People are saying Lonzo Ball's getting better by the game. How many games has he been playing the last few weeks? I don't know if that's accurate. So he played on January 1st. He had 5 points in 22 minutes, 8 boards, 4 assists. Went 2 of 7, 1 of 6 from 3. Okay, so he has been playing more as of late. You got that going for you. He's not playing big minutes. He's not shooting it well. He doesn't look like the same player. But I know you want him for the ball handling capabilities. If Lonzo could stay healthy, guys, if there was some guaranteed health with him, I would love Lonzo Ball. I just don't know if you want to bring in another guy with severe injury concerns. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, we're waiting for the injury report to find out about Kawhi Leonard's status for tomorrow at Intuit Dome against the Atlanta Hawks. Tip-off is at 7:30. Pre-game show starting at 6:30. I'm going to do one more check on Law Murray's Twitter X account to see if anything new has transpired. I don't see anything there. Nothing yet. We're all hoping for the best with Kawhi. We are. I'll play what Law Murray said yesterday one more time for you because this is the best we got. This is the latest. Remember, he said a target date of January 4th initially about a week ago. Saturday night back at Intuit Dome, the Clippers will be taking on the Atlanta Hawks. So, Law Murray, it begs the question, is Kawhi Leonard still on track to be available to go in his first game this season on Saturday?
Well, when I reported last week, there was a target date. That's all I could really say. And that's not something that the organization is pushing or anything like that. That's Kawhi's target date. And we know that just because Kawhi feels like he's ready or has a date circled, that doesn't always work out. We've seen that across the league with a lot of guys. You know, they've had their ramp up period. They might feel like they're ready and then it doesn't work out. So but I will say he hasn't been ruled out. That is a positive as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, when you look at what's happening, he got to practice with the G League team. And that was a pretty big deal. He went through multiple practices. Sound like it came out pretty well with that. And so we'll have to see if the team is willing to put him out there for Saturday night. So I'm just going to say that's a lot there. All I'm saying really is nothing has changed based off of what I reported last week.
Kind of a strong statement at the end. Nothing has changed. Therefore, he still feels like tomorrow is the target date. That's, I think, how you'd deduce that. AI Adam said, "Hi, Adam. How's it going? Good, I hope."
Hey, what's up, buddy? How are you tonight? Not too bad, I hope.
Yes, it's not going too bad.
Not too bad, I hope.
I got to save some of these sound bites in a separate Clippers talk folder here. It's too good. I hope the rest of your day
Not too bad, I hope.
goes.
Not too bad, I hope.
Appreciate you guys, and I think we're gonna have a Clippers live, a Clips and Dip live, whenever that injury report comes out, and we'll likely get some intel then about Kawhi Leonard. If it says anything other than out, I am hopeful. If it says questionable, I am hopeful. If it says probable, he's playing. If it says questionable, a good chance he's playing. If it says doubtful, he's at least getting closer. I'd sign up for any of that right now. But now I'm going to sign off. This has been another episode of Clippers Talk. Talk to you guys later.
Not too bad, I hope.